The box was indeed slightly damaged, slightly dented when I received it. The fall, the drop, whatever it is, was bad enough to damage this figure. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. Today with a Sculpt figure review. Now this review is completely unexpected. This figure purchase was not something I was planning. I just happened to see this figure going for so cheap, unbelievably cheap, from a shop, a seller that I'm familiar with. So I knew that it is a genuine figure. It is not a bootleg. So I went ahead and picked one up because, yeah, it is from a very reputable manufacturer called Amakuni. Now, in recent years, Amakuni has never been the most consistent brand out there. There were a select few figures where they screwed up the paintwork, but the general consensus is that Amakuni is one of the top tier figure brands out there when they do get it right. So with today, we are checking out a figure that they released more than 2 years ago. This 1/7 scale M4 SOPMOD II from Girls Frontline was released in December 2022. So let's assume it's a year 23 figure. So now it is about 2 years and 4 months old. Depending on the perspective, a 2.5-year-old figure can be considered fairly new, or it can also be considered to be old at this point because there are so many new figures coming out every month. But to me, 2 years plus is still considered new. Just that for a YouTuber to be reviewing a 2-year-old figure, that is considered pretty old. Yeah. So this is a pretty tall 1/7 scale figure. This is taller than my 1/6 scale Bear Panda figures, Xia and Lin original characters, which I just reviewed last week. This is taller than those ever so slightly. Head height 27 centimeters, including the base. This is borderline 1/6 scale at this point. Maybe this is just a tall character. And as for the official launch price, release price of this figure, she was 20,000 yen before taxes or shipping. I happened to come across one last unit sitting there in this store in China's Taobao for 455 Chinese yuan. So 455 Chinese yuan is around 60% off. It is just under 9,000 Japanese yen. What is the catch? So according to the product description by the seller, there is damage to the box. I was like, fair enough, 20,000 yen down to 9,000 yen because of box damage, I'll take it. I haven't bought an Amakuni figure for so many years. My last one was Saber Altria Alter, the rider class from FGO. That was quite a few years ago already. That was quite good actually. So this figure over here will let me know what Amakuni's quality is like in early 2023. Of course, I would like to get a more recent release, but we'll see. At some point, I will. Unboxing process was fairly straightforward. Plug the figure into the base and finally plug her right hand into her right arm. Though I think the better sequence would be to plug in her right hand first before you put the figure into the base, because the angulation was a bit tricky. Like initially I couldn't get her hand in. I thought it was too tight, but rather it was the angulation. So I was like holding this figure like this, and then, you know, it was a bit tough, but finally I got it in. Not much issues otherwise. As you can see, I just had to touch this figure a little, and the thing is wobbling so badly. So that is the number one weakness of this figure. It is too shaky, it is too unstable, as you can see over here. Yeah, it is like whenever I touch my table ever so slightly, or you touch your cabinet, then you'll start seeing the figure shaking like that. So the stability is like 5 out of 10 maximum. I don't like it. And there is an easy but not very nice solution, and that is to stabilize her right foot over here. Maybe use a sticky tack. Up to you, what do you want to use? But just by stabilizing her right leg over here, the figure does not wobble that much anymore. So this was the number one difficulty I faced with this review today. It was very difficult to film this review because the figure keeps shaking around and I couldn't get a good video footage, and in the end I used sticky tacks to stabilize the figure and it worked for me. As for the box, it is fairly ordinary, nothing special, and yep, the box was indeed slightly damaged, slightly dented when I received it. I was expecting a lot worse. At the same time, even though the box does not appear to be that badly damaged, I believe that the impact from the fall, the drop, whatever it is, was bad enough to damage this figure. So this figure actually had a small damage, and it is this antenna over here, it is broken off. I actually verified it by looking at the sample product pictures from Amakuni, and on the box over here, this left antenna over here is supposed to be longer than the one on the right, and I did not even notice it until much later. Like during my figure haul video a few weeks ago when I took this figure out from the box, I wasn't aware that something was broken. I just noticed it during filming. So this is not nice, but at the same time not a very obvious damage. And what I would personally do over here is to use a black marker pen and just paint over this white color fractured surface. Then it will look like as if both of her antenna are of the same length, and yeah, the damage won't be that obvious. So for 9,000 yen, this is, how do I put it? It is a bit sad that the figure is not 100% perfect, but at the same time, I knew that the box was coming in damaged and that there might be potential damage to the figure. So in the end, I would say that I'm a bit relieved in the sense that there was no major damage, just a very minor one and not too obvious. Of course, it wasn't just this antenna over here. There is a paint scratch or paint transfer on top of her head. I'm showing you guys right now. This kind of paint damage is something you'll see when there is a direct physical impact, even if the figure is sitting inside the box. I have another figure by Skill which has the same problem. The box design wasn't very good. The figure took a really big hit during shipping, and then there were paint transfers. Same thing. This is exactly the same thing over, just that it is less severe. I can always touch up by using maybe grey paint, really dark grey paint, and use thinner to remove the paint transfer over here. It is something I can repair, but I don't think I want to touch it. Moving on to the sculpting of this figure over here. Well, not the most detailed thing ever, but at the same time, there is really nothing much to point out. This is a solid 8 out of 10 for a figure that cost 20,000 yen, moderate amount of details, and everything is very precise and accurate to be expected from Amakuni. The face is fantastic. I love the face on this so much. Looks exactly like the official product photos from Amakuni. Amakuni has always been excellent with figure sculpts, one of the best out there. I wasn't expecting anything less than this, so this perfectly meets my expectations. Especially for the firearm, the rifle she is holding, it is beautiful. Man, that is the main detail point of this figure, and they executed it to perfection. So the sculpt is an 8 out of 10, and I'm giving this scores over here without factoring in the damage on the head over here. That is something that happened during shipping. It is not Amakuni's fault, Yeah. And then speaking of the paintwork of this figure, everything is nicely painted. It is beautiful. The metallic parts are so shiny, and then the outfit, the jacket is matte black, matte dark grey. And then the hair is all very nicely painted. Like this figure is 95% perfect in paint work, just that there is one single tiny flaw on the back of the figure over here. And this is the kind of thing that has been happening to Amakuni a little bit more often lately in the past 2 or 3 years. So on this part over here, look at the red color paint, not very nice over there. There is paint transfer. It looks like someone touched the figure accidentally before the paint has dried, and you get this paint transfer that looks a little bit like there is some additional fingerprints on it, something like that. So this is definitely a quality control issue on the back of the figure. The front is perfectly fine. So with the paint work over here, I'm giving her a maximum 7.5 out of 10, 7 to 7.5, not more than that. Mainly because of the paint transfer behind her, which shouldn't happen. But everywhere else, looking at this figure from the front, she is so beautiful. And for 9,000 yen instead of 20k, man, this was quite the bargain to me. Lastly, the base over here, well, round black disc again, isn't it? But with some decals on it, so it does not look too boring. And the design language of the base over here, very fitting, very suitable for this character's theme. So it is like a very nice match. I don't think I can complain too much, other than I would have preferred the right leg to be plugged into the base as well. So the base is a solid 7 out of 10, not more than that, because too simple. With my verdict on this figure, it is like almost perfect, almost there. A tiny flaw on the back of the figure and the stability I'm not happy about. Everything else, they are fine, right? So in a way, Amakuni they do almost meet my expectations in a way. I wish that it is a little bit better. Like all these small mistakes shouldn't be there, and this would be a perfect SOPMOD 2 figure. If you can find one at the bargain price, like, I don't know, 13,000 yen, and the seller you buy from happens to be really good at packaging their figures, then maybe this is worth buying. Like, I'm not sure if I can recommend buying this figure at the full 20,000 yen price tag, but if you can find a big discount like 35-40% off, then it might be worth it, as long you are a fan of Girls Frontline. For me, I'm not exactly a big fan of Girls Frontline at all, but I just buy figures of characters that I kind of like the design. So this is one of those kinds of figures where, while she is not perfect, I love it a lot, and I will be keeping this figure instead of selling it. So my verdict is I will keep this one. And that is all for today's figure review. I hope that you found it helpful or informative, and if it is, please do give it a like, subscribe to this channel for more anime figure content every week, and until then, I'll see you guys again soon. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.